Most of you know I'm starting art school in September, and this summer I've been studying art history. And so especially get around to, when the Greeks, the Greek Empire and the Roman Empire and all those gods, it's just like, if you want good crops, you pray to the crop god. If you want good weather, you pray to the weather god. If you want smooth sailing, you pray to the god of the ocean. If you want power and strength, you pray to the god of power and strength. If you want lots of riches, you pray to the rich god. Oh, if you want romance, you pray to the love god, right? And that's not just pray, but the general orientation is there's gods up there, and you better watch out. If you don't keep them happy, then bad things will happen to you, right? And, at the very least, you want to not have them notice you and kind of focus on you to be punished. But even, the real hope is that they're very pleased and they'll actually bless you and kind of shower you with whatever you need so you live a long and prosperous and full life. The underlying fear, though, is they're waiting to zap you. So much of the orientation throughout the history of the world, and even today I would say, is the fear of God. And somehow try not to incur God's wrath and to kind of have it so God will not do hard things to you. And so quite often then, most of the rituals, most of the worship, most of the things that humans have done are all about trying to show this God how much, not just the God, but gods, how much we worship them, how we give them lots of things so that they'll be happy and leave us alone and hopefully smile upon us. What if God is not out to get us? What if God is not out to get us? When I think of Jesus, it didn't seem like Jesus was out to get people. It seemed like Jesus was completely for people. Healed those that were injured or sick. Brought into the fold those who society had said you're out. Brought wisdom and hope to those that were mourning and sad and trying to make their way. Even from the cross, when they were doing their worst, he was praying, God, forgive them. They just don't know what they're doing. This is not a God that's out to get us. This is a God for us. For me, and for you and you and you and you, but also for us. Us in this room, those joining us online, the folks across the street, the folks across Calgary, the folks across Alberta, the folks across Canada. God is for us. John 3:16, the gospel in a nutshell. For God so loved the world that God sent his son so that the world might be saved. Saved, made whole, peaceful, working together in harmony. What if that is God's desire? Not about waiting for someone to do wrong and punishing them. For me, this is the core of God. I'm talking about God's grace. It's the core of what Jesus was up to. But it's prefigured here in Isaiah. In seminary, had a colleague. We would have chapel once a week. Actually, there's chapel every day, but Wednesdays was the big day. And they had the altar set with everything. And the text, I don't know if it was this text, it's probably Amos or Micah, one of the other ones, but he came in and just swept everything off the altar. I'm tired of your worship. I decided I kind of like being here as your pastor, so I wouldn't do that. But I mean, that's how this passage starts. It's like, you're doing all these things trying to gain my favor, to show me how much you honor me, and that, and you'll give me all these sacrifices, and you'll say all these long, lengthy prayers, and you'll do all these things, and you'll gather together, and you'll get really solemn. And then you go back to your life, and you're oppressing people, you're not taking care of those in need, you're just living completely against, I would say, what God desires for us and for the world. If we begin with God as love, 1 John 4, 7 and 8, if we trust that that is God, God's orientation is for life to abound, for peace to abound, for kindness, for forgiveness, for everyone to have what they need. And from there, it's like doing all this stuff to show supposedly that you're worshiping me and listening to me, or this is God speaking, and not being about justice and doing good and helping those that are in need. It just doesn't make sense. And for me, that's the heart of this passage. Now, this is Isaiah, of course, many prophets, but especially, during the time of the kings there in Judah and Israel, it was like, yeah, they were after power. They lost sight of really claiming and living out what it means to be God's people. And there were consequences. But God's desire, God's hope, God's will, God's heart, God's soul, is that we may have life and have it abundantly. And yes, as people who know this about God, God enlists us, God calls us, God sends us out, God empowers us to be messengers and instruments of that change in the world, so that peace may abound, so that justice may abound. What does the Lord require of us? What does God ask us, invite us to be part of? Doing justice, loving mercy, showing compassion, and walking humbly, knowing that we are not God, but the God of the universe is for us. Amen.